Greetings and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Run, as today we're playing as Isaac. I know this 6, the variants, we're not excited for that, but I decided that this daily is going to be different. I'm gonna grab the bull by its horns and show this daily who's boss, and I feel like I've done that pretty successfully because this is my new personal best, at least in the terms of how much score I've gotten. So my previous personal best was something like 56,000, and this one was even better. I'm not gonna really spoil the surprise, but obviously it's not much higher than that, even though then the theoretical limit is something like 67,000, so it's not like we can go much further and beyond that, and even achieving that is very difficult. You do need a lot of time and you just need a lot of things to go right in order to get there. But this particular run, it started out with Mom's Knife, so the things did look promising, but I do feel like only Mom's Knife is not the recipe for success. Obviously it's a very good item, it's something that will carry your run and you can get to the end with just this one item. But in order to have a really strong run so you can do things fast and just not take too much damage, you need more than that. And I feel like mainly damage, obviously, because that does help, but also other things. You need some defensive items, you need some items which would just help you with utility, and obviously we need a way to break the game if you want to achieve our new personal best. Getting above 50,000 is completely possible without breaking, but anything beyond that, like 55,000, even more, then that becomes very difficult, unless maybe in some situations you would get a forget-me-now, you would go to the void, and maybe you would do the void twice. Maybe in that situation you can look for a very high score in that regard, but really the most reliable or the most common way for you to get a really high score would be to break the game. And of course, with just Mom's Knife, we don't really have that, but what Mom's Knife does allow us to do is to go with some other routes, or at least look in some other directions, in order to get our run even better. So because we have Mom's Knife, now suddenly we don't have to reroll our devil deals anymore, because we already have enough damage, we already have the offensive punch we need to beat the game, so now we can focus on rerolling the shops and try to get some utility items that way. Or for example, we don't have to go to the devil deals, we can leave our chances for the angel deal chance and get some utility items that way. Of course with the D6 that's even better, because now the angel rooms have more items in general and you can reroll the key fragments, and all of those things tend to give you something good on their own. And there's always a chance of finding a good offensive item in there. But obviously even just getting one damage upgrade would be already decent, and I made a slight mistake, or maybe a blunder in some sense. I had Diplopia and Champion's Belt in the shop. For some reason I saw Champion's Belt, I was so excited because it's a damage upgrade, and not only a damage upgrade, it also makes it so the champion variants of enemies appear more often. And what's great about those enemies is that they give you more points than just regular versions of that enemy. So having Champion's Belt is actually really cool in this situation, because not only do we get exactly what we need, damage, but it also is a way for it to give us more points. And what's even better about Champion's Belt is that it's an item that pays for itself, and it kind of pays for itself in a way that no other item can, because it does increase the chance of the champion versions of enemies appearing. That's not something that you would be able to alter otherwise. So for example, if you buy something like bombs from the shop, you're spending 5 cents in order to get a bomb, or maybe 2 bombs or whatever, and that might be a good purchase on that particular note, or at least in that position. But if you have, of course, if you've hit the Schwack cap, then that is detrimental, or at least because you bought it in the past, you're actually costing yourself some points in the long run. But with Champion's Belt, it's an item that literally cannot be replaced with anything else just because of its unique effect, except maybe the trinket. But I think if you do combine the trinket, the purple, I don't know, the trinket that increases the chance of champion versions appearing, and if you combine both of them, I think that makes it even more likely. So it's not like they exclude each other, but still, it is a damage upgrade and it would be only worth for that. But the fact that it does give us some more passive points to get is also a nice benefit. Especially when you go to the Void. I think in the Void the enemies already have a higher chance of being champion variants, so I'm not sure if this even boosts that chance, or maybe there's some set chance that afflicts it, but yeah, anyway. The Champion's Belt, good item, not much more to say than that. We also got some other utility items like I've talked about. The Sack of Sacks is great because not only does it give us sacks and battery charges, which is just amazing with the D6, but it also does allow us to get some passive cards that we can use, and hopefully some runes. And maybe the MVP of this run, besides Mom's Knife, is that very early room bag. And we got the room bag in a very special place. I ended up finding the second secret room, which was pretty, I would say, not lucky, but it was in a very obvious spot, but it did require some guesswork and at least some knowledge of the game. So I felt like it was there, the second secret room was there, and there was the blood bank, and the blood bank allowed us to go down to 1 heart, and because of that I was able to enter the boss trap room on the 2nd floor, and that did allow me to get the room bag, and the room bag of course then just gives you everything that you possibly need for breaking. So now we're on the lookout to hopefully get some good cards out of our sacks, and maybe combine that with the Yarrow runes or maybe Purple runes in order to get the items that we need. We also have the benefit of having the D6, which means that if you do manage to get some Judgment cards or Temperance cards or whatever and spawn some items, we can then use the D6 to reroll it, and that will come in handy when we go down to the last floor of the run, because obviously in that situation we would want to either spawn a blank card so we can combo that with a Yarrow rune, or we will want to spawn a Forget Me Now, and you know what the best place to do that is, and that's the Secret Room, and hopefully the plan will work as expected. Obviously I did tell you that this is my new personal best, so it is kind of implied that the plan will work, but I'm just trying to hype it up for some reason, and I'm just trying to make it more exciting. Besides that, I did also go for some fun synergies. What is an Isaac run if you don't get some fun synergies? And this is exactly what I sort of complained about on yesterday's daily, and that is just that I feel like these fun synergies don't really show up that often. Because of the special item system, the good items, or at least the fun items, are a bit more rare. They don't really combo well together, and a lot of the new items that got added into the game just don't synergize with the old items in any way. Maybe if you have regular tiers, but there aren't any novel synergies, like for example Brimstone and Mom's Life, which is exactly what we got going here. And I decided to pick this up because, first of all, it doesn't really show up that often, so having a barrage of knives just going through your face is always exciting, but we also managed to get Loki's Horn previous to that, and I felt like because this is gonna be a breaking run, my luck is gonna be high enough that I can actually utilize Loki's Horn. Besides just the Mimi value, did I say meme? Mimi? I meant meme. I don't know why I said meme in that situation. It's meme. Definitely meme. So besides the meme value of having 4 knives around you and being the human Beyblade, it also allows us, because of the high luck, or at least I hypothesize that we're gonna get high luck, it allows us to shoot in all 4 directions. That can actually be pretty useful in a lot of situations, because when enemies are surrounding you from, or maybe spawning in different parts of the room, you can then use both of those cardinal directions, or even the diagonals, to shoot them in a way where you couldn't before. And because we have the Brimstone as well, that means that we also shoot our knives in all 4 directions, and then that just gives us essentially infinite range. Of course, the knives don't do as much damage as regular Brimstone would, just because the tick rate of the knives is smaller. I'm not sure if it's smaller, but because the knives stay on the enemy for a much shorter period of time, it actually doesn't have the chance to do as much damage. So in all those regards, it's much less damaging, but it's way cooler in my opinion, because after all, a barrage of knives, come on, who wouldn't be excited with that? Thankfully, the rune bag also provided us with a lot of Algi's runes, which helped us kind of circumvent a lot of the damage that we got. It's just useful to pop on a boss fight, and because we have 4 knives, you can actually get in there and just start spinning to do really a lot of damage. And if we're fighting large enemies, we can actually hit them with more than 1 knife. And because we also got the Mount Transformation, we actually have 3 knives on top of them, which just means that we pretty much melt anything instantly. 30 seconds of Algi's rune was enough to kill Delirium from full health to 0. And if that doesn't tell you something about the power of this Beyblade combo, then I'm not really sure what will. But I did go to the Void floor because after fighting Isaac, there's always a chance for the Void portal to appear. I decided to go here, and the main reason for that was, first of all, I had a sack of sacks, so I felt like my chances of actually getting something significant, or maybe a good card, or even, because of the rune bag, getting a rune that would allow me to break the game is gonna be much more likely in the Void floor, because first of all, there are a lot more floors, and second of all, if I did go to the chest, a lot of the chests that I would open, because I also have Guppy's Tail, would just be items, and because you really can't do much with items, you can still get some good things out of them, but I really need the cards. I need the Judgment cards, I need the Temperance cards and things like that in order to break the game. So I felt like going to the Void would just increase my chances of getting something good. I do miss out on the potential 4,000 points for beating Isaac, which is completely fair, and no, not Isaac, Blue Baby, which is completely fair and acceptable, but I feel like I would get more points on average if I do go to the Void. Obviously, the chances of me getting something significant is still high if I do go to the chest, but I feel like my chances of getting the breaking combo that I'm looking for are just higher in the Void because of the nature of the floor, because it's so big and because it does give you consumables in the chest instead of items like in the chest. That was weird because there were too many chests, but essentially I felt like this was gonna work better, and it did. So what ended up happening is I went to the Secret Room, I dropped my Judgment card, and I actually had 2 Yarrows on the floor. So this decision was quite crucial, because what I could have done is duplicated the judgment card twice, so I would produce 4 judgment cards in the end, or 4 judgments, which would give me 4 item pedestals, and of course I would be able to reroll that and increase my chances to get something like the Forget Me Now, which is obviously what we're going for here. But I left 1 Yara rune intentionally on the ground, and I only spawned 2 item pedestals, and I figured that there were enough battery charges for me to essentially go through the entire pool and generate both the blank card and the Forget Me Now, and that's exactly what happened. First of all, the Forget Me Now showed up, I went to the boss room and swapped it with Book of Belial, so now I had the Forget Me Now in a safe corner, and then I went back to re-rolling until eventually I got a blank card, and because I reserved a Gyaro rune from before, I was able to break the game that way, and that gave me something like 5,000 points in general, so that was a pretty good bargain in that sense, because it did give us the power to go through. Of course, when I finished breaking and finished duplicating things, I went back to pick up the Forget Me Now, and I just started visiting the boss rooms. As soon as I would stumble upon Delirium, I would just teleport out, because there's no reason to finding him really, at least not in the first iteration of the boss fight. He gives you something like 300 points, but because I had no way to really be safe against him, I mean, I guess I had some Algiz runes just lying around, but I didn't really want to bother to go back and forth. To do that, I decided to use the Forget Me Now and do the second Void floor all over again. I did get hit a few too many times, not just on this floor, but just in general. I got the 4,000 damage penalty, which admittedly isn't super high, at least not for me, but I feel like I could have played much better just because of how strong this run was. So I did come here on the second Void floor, and now we're just kind of on the lookout. We're just exploring, we're not really looking or interested in picking up any of the items or the consumables, because that will just rack up points, and the consumables really aren't worth anything at this point. The only way I could rack my points even higher would be if I started duplicating something like the golden hearts. That would give me a nice boost as well, because I feel like I think the golden hearts stack on top of your points when you have them, and you can have a total of 12. And also another way would be just to get more health containers, but besides that, there's really not much more we can do. And we did with Delirium, like I said before, with 1 Algiz rune I was able to output enough damage with 3 knives to essentially kill Delirium in 30 seconds. I went there, I went to beat the other boss, I came back, and I finished the run at 9th place with 58,607 points. So a very decent run with Breaking Shrek bonus, with 27,000 exploration bonus, with both the Rush and the Hush bonus. Sadly, no Blue Baby bonus, but you really can't have everything on this run. And if it did go there, maybe if there was a teleport to the Void after the Blue Baby fight, you know, if I knew that in advance, that would have been obviously the optimal solution in this case, but there's no way of guaranteeing that. I just felt like this was going to be a much more surefire way of doing it, and I feel like getting a 58,000 points score on a daily is already super decent, so I really can't be too upset with my decision, even if I wish that my run peaked at 60,000, and the only way I could have really done this in this case is for me to take less damage, and that just requires me to play a little bit better, which I know I can do, but sometimes, you know, the motions of the game just get to you, and you just end up walking into enemies for no reason, and sometimes the RNG just kind of messes you over. But like I said, I can't complain too much. Getting such a high score on a daily is super decent, and I'm just excited to have had the experience of that. Hopefully the next daily will not include as much breaking, because it does take a lot of time, but even if it does, we'll give it our best shot for it, or at least to try and get another good daily performance. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys, and I hope to see you next time.